All right, buyer's due diligence. If you've been searching for homes, if you bought a home before, you've been searching for homes online, you've probably seen this term many times, buyers to do their own due diligence. What does that mean? All right, well, that's what we're talking about in this video, so stick around. All right, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name's Jason with Greater Nixa Homes, and on this channel, we talk about all things real estate from Nixa down to Branson. So if you are new here, make sure you subscribe. We're cranking out all new videos every single Monday, so don't miss out. All right, so buyer's due diligence. That's what we're talking about today. You probably may have heard this Latin term, caveat emptor, right? Let the buyer beware. A lot of people may not realize that it's actually part of a longer term. I got it for you right here. This is actually the full meaning here is beware, for he ought not to be ignorant of the nature of the property for which he is buying from another party. It's fine. We'll leave that. It's fine. So I've got a blog that I want to just kind of do some story time with you guys, if you will, and you can check out the link down in the description if you want to read along with me. Let's do that. So here's a little story about a couple named Jim and Claire, and they just bought the home of their dreams, and they were ecstatic when their offer was accepted and the transaction sailed to an effortless close. As summer settled in, it was time to crank up the air conditioner. Now, curiously, they couldn't find the thermostat for it. Sure, there was a thermostat for the heater, and isn't the cooling system typically, attached to it? After searching the entire home, they came up empty. The HVAC system was missing the AC side of the equation. There was no air conditioning system in the home, despite the MLS listing claiming otherwise. So who gets the blame? Well, it's easy to assume that the listing agent and/or their broker were to blame for this. After all, the box on the MLS listing right next to the part in the disclosure said central air conditioning was checked. Perhaps the homeowner should have caught the MLS mistake and brought it to their agent's attention. If so, perhaps they're to blame. In the end, after mediation, the buyers were found to be at fault. Why? They didn't perform adequate due diligence. Caveat emptor. So that's what we talked about earlier. Let the buyer beware. This does not, however, give sellers the green light to actively engage in fraudulent transactions. But it does put up a lot of responsibility on the buyer's shoulders. And in this case, the mediator found no evidence that the sellers acted fraudulently. The due diligence period here in Southwest Missouri is typically about 10 to 15 days, depending on the market, how it's moving. But you typically get those first 10 to 15 days to do all of your due diligence. If you're concerned about square footage, then you've got the first 5 days to be able to go and measure the property. If you're concerned about the acreage of the property, this is a big one here, because in Missouri, we're not required to provide a survey. Sellers do not have to provide a survey at closing. So if you are buying a property with some acreage or that's kind of got some abnormal, it's not like a perfect rectangle in a residential lot, especially you're out in the country and you've got this irregular shaped kind of lot and there's no clear real fence even around to mark the outlines of the property, you've got some time to order one yourself and figure out exactly what it is you're buying and review that survey and get out if you need to. So that's one thing I want to mention to you guys as far as diligence, checking out the square footage and the acreage of the property. You've got time to check that out beyond just your typical home inspection contingency to check out what's wrong with the actual home itself. But there's also like title work, the subdivision indentures, the HOA, the financials. A lot of this stuff will come into play. And me as your realtor, I try to be as best of a resource for you to provide the avenues, give you the links, give you the numbers, let you contact the people that you need to be talking to answer those questions for you. But I cannot do that work. A lot of people have this misconception that we as the realtors, it's our responsibility check all this stuff out for you. And that is a major myth that I want to debunk right away. It's really the responsibility of the buyer. You're the one purchasing the property, so it's on you to do your own due diligence. And I will do the best that I possibly can to make that as easy of a process as possible. All right, so let's go back to the story about Jim and Claire and find out what happened. So Jim and Claire lost their case at mediation, and here's why. There was no evidence that the seller exhibited fraudulent behavior. His property disclosure noted that there was no central air conditioning. The buyers either didn't read the disclosure or ignored what was stated. I can't tell you how many times, we'll get away from this for 1 second. I can't tell you how many times we provide the seller disclosure to buyers and they just sign, and then all of the questions about the property come up later on, way closer to the closing or after we've already resolved the inspection contingencies. They didn't read the seller disclosure. They think that the realtor is supposed to read all of that for them. Again, it all goes back to, you've got that time before you even write the offer to review the seller disclosure if they've been able to provide one for you, and make sure that you're okay with everything moving forward. All right, so let's go back to Jim and Claire. The home inspector noted the lack of central air conditioning. Why any home buyer wouldn't thoroughly read a home inspection report is mind-boggling, but apparently Jim and Claire didn't in this case. The buyers personally inspected the home on 2 separate occasions and performed an additional final walkthrough before closing. While it would be too late to seek remedy after the final walkthrough, the prior 2 inspections fall under the umbrella of performing due diligence. So don't let that happen to you. You've got lots of opportunities to check out a property in a hot moving market. A lot of people are very tempted to simply have somebody go down, shoot some video and write an offer. And then there's a huge risk of things falling apart later if you are, having to come and look at a property after you're already under contract. And then, sellers typically don't like to accept offers with a buyer really not even having a full understanding of what it is that they're purchasing, if they haven't seen it in person. Those are tough. But you really just have to make sure that you've crossed all your T's, dotted all your I's, and read your seller disclosure thoroughly, read your contract thoroughly, and be there at the home inspection if you can. A lot of people buy property from far away, and so I just try to advise my buyers, if you can at all possible, try to be here during the inspection period to get all of that due diligence done, and then you can go home, get all of your lender paperwork and everything else that you're going to need taken care of, and I'll be sure to be checking off all your contingency deadlines along the way, make sure we have a smooth and effortless transaction. So hope that helps for you guys. Just some good little tidbits there about buyers due diligence. If you found this video helpful, give us a like and hit that subscribe button. If you're new and visiting and you haven't subscribed yet, we're cranking out all kinds of great video content every single Monday, so don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next Monday. All right, I'm Jason with Greater Nixa Homes, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.